Man, iTunes was the marquee product for Apple. And they done fucked it up. They just stopped updating iTunes. Man, I love the iTunes store. It was what I had to go to when they stopped selling CDs 10 years ago. I remember seeing when Best Buy announced that they were stopping. They were never going to sell new CDs in their store anymore. They would still have some old ones that they had, some classics, that sold well, but they were no longer like someone would come out with a new album, a new CD. That's my dog barking back there. And you used to be able to just go buy it, rip the shrink wrap off of it. What's that lyric? Only had a 20. Yeah. Something up on the left was Illmatic. On the right was something else. Fuck it, I stole both. Yeah. That's a good ass song. But yeah. iTunes, at least you could still buy it and it would go with you wherever, as long as you had a hard drive or something. You still owned it, right? I've got laptops, probably 2 laptops, probably have combined or aggregate, probably like 20,000 songs. And of those, I would say probably like 8 to 9,000 of them are duplicates, maybe more, but safely 8 to 9,000 of them are duplicates. If you could run a job on that to get those out of there, that would be excellent. But right now I don't have them. I've got this fancy new laptop and I haven't migrated over my iTunes. I got to download it. I mean, there's Apple Music and you can go to the iTunes store, but it's not iTunes. And I know this is a third world problem. I know there's bigger issues in the world, blah, blah, blah. I'm just telling you what's frustrating me in the moment. Anyway, I'm going to start by talking about Iowa. They were the earlier game of between them and Florida State. So I'm going to talk about Iowa, then Florida State, then I'll run through the other games. I only watched a handful. But yeah, Iowa played at what? 11? Did they play at 11 or 2:30? I think they played at 2:30 because what was I doing? Oh, I was painting my neighbor's garage. She couldn't reach the top panel. She's losing her balance. Maryland. Sadly, she's going to put her house up for sale sooner than later, not in like the winter time, but she's lived there since 1970. So 53 years, going on 54 years. That's incredible. That is unbelievable in these days. People move around so much. And she was telling me, she sat there. I told her I would be over. First of all, oh my God. So my fucking 2011 lesbian mobile Outback, I took it into this place called Honest Wrenches like 2 years ago. And they did a good job, but they're like, hey, this thing is a piece of work. The transmission's going to go out. Who knows when? It could be when you leave here. It could be, several thousand miles down the road, but you don't want to risk further damage. On top of that, this, and this is wrong with it. Well, anyway, I just kept driving it, right? I'm like, whatever. Like, fuck it. This thing goes out on me. This thing goes out on me. But I've been down to Kansas City a few times. I've been when it's cold out, I drive it. Um, I use it to haul everything. But for the last, I don't know, 6 months, maybe more, it's been progressively the rattling is the best way I can describe it. The vibration in the car has been progressively getting worse to the point where, like, if I have the windows down and it was a hot summer, right? Or it's a nice day. Today was like 80 degrees. It's the end of October, towards the end of October. Um, but anyway, forgot what I was talking about. The car. Anyway, oh yeah, the rattling's been getting worse. If I have the windows down, there's like I've tried to explain this to a couple of people. It's like a sonic boom coming from the underneath of my car. It is so loud on my ears, and even when I have the windows rolled up, it's still um, loud and it's rattling. This thing's a piece of junk. So I've been using my scooter as much as possible. I got a net gator. I wear winter gloves most of the time. Today was nice. I didn't have to wear a jacket. You feel like a dog out there. You understand why they put their heads out the window, right? Um, but anyway, the transmission's going. So I ordered one on eBay. I matched it up to my VIN and all that. It's certified to work. And it got delivered. It was free shipping, which is insane because this thing weighs a ton. And it came on a pallet, so I just scooted it into the corner of my garage, and it's been sitting there for over a year. So finally, instead of taking it to a reputable place, and nobody, I did call a couple garages, and they wouldn't take it or they wouldn't work on it because of the liability of it even fitting. Like if they took apart my transmission and then they put it up there and it doesn't fit my car, um, that's a lot of time and money, labor, and B, uh, that stuff is old underneath there. It's rusted. Something can break, and that costs money to replace it. So it'd be expensive air on my part, and they wouldn't take that risk. So I had to find somebody on the black market. So I got on Craigslist. I still believe in Craigslist. I love Craigslist. um yeah, the place I lived, that the room I rented in a house out in California, I found it on Craigslist a day outside of California. I was driving with my buddy. He was nice enough to go along with me. By the end, we were pretty annoyed with each other. Him probably more with me because I was an idiot. I was 23, not even. I was 22, turned 23 when I was there. That's a funny story too. Yeah. Anyway, I'll tell those stories later. But um, what was I talking the room in California about? Why did I bring that up? Anyway, college football, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Everybody's got something to say, right? So I'm going to say my piece, and then I'm good with it. I was pissed off. I'm still pissed off, but it is what it is, right? Iowa fans, myself included, will forever believe that we won on the field. Minnesota fans will forever believe and will have record of winning in the books, right? Like 12-10. Did either team do enough to put themselves in a position where it wasn't even a question who was going to win? No, not even close. Did both teams play pretty shitty? Yeah, they're really bad, both teams. At least the offenses are. Um, so did Iowa deserve to win that game? Absolutely not. Did Minnesota deserve to win that game? No. Iowa still had a chance after all of that. And Hill throws an interception. on third down, just a terrible throw. They could have at least got in field goal range and attempted it. If they lose 12-10 and attempted a field goal, I think more people would be like, "Oh man, that was a bad call. Maybe we could have won." Still some controversy, but they would have said, "But we had a chance, we missed it. Fair game to Minnesota." But that's not what happened. I mean, they still won 12-10. PJ Fleck was acting like a goddamn fool. I think he was yelling at the fans like from the sideline when that interception happened. It's like, dude, get the fuck out of here. I saw somebody said you just won on a Mickey Mouse call, which I believe, I stand by that. Like, that's your first win. It's bullshit. Everybody knows it. You know it. Your players know it. The fans know it. Like, okay, you won. Good for you. But if you look at the replay, and here's what I'm going to say my piece about it here. If you look at the replay, Iowa did not, and what I'm going to say has not been said by 1,000 other people, right? I'm just preaching to the choir at this point. But Iowa and Cooper DeJean did not gain an advantage by anything he signaled there, which was viewed as an invalid fair catch. Now, here's my gripe with that, or my suggestion for an easy fix to that problem. For that rule to apply, for it even to be looked at, the punt returner has to catch the ball. That's 1A. If, whatever the rule is, A should be for the fair catch rule and everything that goes along with that. If it's valid or invalid, it only applies if the punt returner catches the ball in the air. If the ball hits the ground first and the punting team touches the ball, just like it is at any other point in the field, the ball's dead right there. Plays over. If the receiving team touches the ball or returns it or attempts to pick it up and they fumble it away, it's a live ball as soon as they touch it, and they can do whatever. They can down it if they want. They're just going to get they're going to get hit probably because everybody's right there. But that's my suggestion to fix that. Is it doesn't matter what happens if the ball hits the ground. At that point, it's a live ball, and whichever team touches it first determines what's going on. But if you look at that replay, Cooper DeJean, from the aerial coverage, it looks like he's doing this. From the sideline videos that people were taking, it doesn't look like that, which is odd. And in the Big Ten's, I think they had like a conference or a press conference. Maybe not. Maybe they just issued a statement. I'm not sure. But I read something that they said from the aerial view, it's like, well, yeah, it looks like that. And I agree with the rule. However, I'm saying if it was that blatant and it affected the play that much, the ref would have blown the whistle. The ref would have thrown their cap. They have these little bean bags that they throw as well to mark the ball. None of that happened. So the play went on as it should. Look at the replay, which everybody has. Minnesota's playing the ball as if it's live, and so is Iowa. There's 22 players on the field, and they're all playing as if that ball is live, and Cooper DeJean takes it to the house. Iowa should be up 16-17-12. They're probably going to go on to win the game. They're 7-1. Are they good? No. Do they deserve to win? No. Is that what happened? Yes. Iowa did not gain an advantage over anything that Cooper DeJean did there. Watch the play. There were 7 Minnesota players surrounding him with the sideline as the 8th player, and he gets around them. He makes a nice move on a backup tight end at like the 35-yard line, and he goes from there. The kid's got incredible speed, he sees the field like nobody else. He's a great player. Made a great play. Minnesota was trying. None of the coaches, none of the players were on Minnesota's bench were arguing that. The replay was to see if he stepped out of bounds. I thought that you could only review the play for what they called on the field. That if you saw something else, too bad. Of course you could break down every play and find something. That's what I thought. The fact that you can review if you send a play to review that you can look at anything is ridiculous. Like we you just make the call and move on. I've got VHSs of old Florida State games. I've got some Iowa ones too, but watching those games without replay is it's so much different. It's so refreshing. It's so much better. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, just it's obvious. It did not affect anything. It was controversial. Like the explanation they came out with on yesterday, was like 2, 3, 4 paragraphs long. It's like, if you have to explain it that much, like let the play go. It didn't affect anything. But yeah, Minnesota. And I saw a photo of PJ Fleck walking on the field by himself long after the game was over and the stands were empty. It's like, dude, who the fuck let this guy on the field? Get the fuck off the field, bro. Like, go home, get on the bus. Like, you can't believe you acting like that when 12-10, you gave up a punt return. Was Iowa extremely lucky? Are they lucky to have Cooper DeJean? Of course they are, but it happened. Everybody saw it. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. We'll see you next year. We had 2 yards in the second half, and you guys won 12-10. Like, get out of here, bro. Go back to Minnesota. Take your tie off, get some more plastic surgery, look like somebody else. We'll see you next year, you fucking... That's why I had to mark this video as not safe for kids or whatever. I knew I was going to get fired up, but Iowa moves to 6-2. I think they have a bye week, and then they play Northwestern at Wrigley Field, which is just all kinds of dumb. Hated the yellow jerseys. Our home uniforms are as classic as they get. Like, what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, what are we doing? Our uniforms this year have just been hideous. If you're going to do anything, keep it. They've never brought back, to my knowledge, the yellowish gold helmets with the old hawk on it. That's a sick helmet. Or the old Iowa in cursive. Both of those are sick. They've never brought those back. Instead, they brought a yellow jersey with black pants and a huge yellow stripe that did not match. The yellows were different hues. It just looked terrible. I mean, if that touchdown counts and Iowa wins, I'm like, yeah, they were all right. But yeah, you got to throw those in the trash as you walk in the locker room. Those are just going to be set on fire. But yeah, the defense played well. Higgins is always playing well. Jackson played well. 27 still a liability for us out there. Harris, I don't know what his deal is. I don't know if he's getting nervous when the ball's in the air. He can play with these guys. He's proven that in the past. He just hasn't been on it this year for whatever reason. Maybe he's not getting the reps. I don't know, but yeah, Joe Evans played well. He, in the first quarter, it was a 3rd down and long, and it was like inside the 10-yard line. Minnesota had the ball. Joe Evans rushed, and he hit the quarterback, and he hit him way before he went into his throwing motion. It still went like 20 yards. I think Castro might have recovered it cleanly at like the 35-yard line, picked it up and started running, but they didn't even review it. I've got a video of it. I posted it on Twitter of saying it should have been a fumble. They didn't even review it, but he hit the quarterback's. It was back, he's looking, and Joe Evans hit the ball. That should have been a fumble. Iowa's ball cleanly recovered at the 35. I'm not saying we would have scored, but it's a game of inches. A little thing like that could change the entire trajectory of the game. Yeah. Just the officiating was terrible all around. Iowa, on those quarterback sneaks, he made it 3 times in a row. The first time he was like 2.5 yards into the end zone, and they called him short. The next play he was clearly in again, called him short. It's like, you saw Kirk's reaction at one of them. He's like, what? It's like, what's going on? What are we doing here? It was bizarre. I don't think there's some conspiracy, nothing like that. Yeah, it was just a frustrating game all around. I was 10-3, and I went next door to start painting Maryland's garage. I was feeling good. I mean, a 7-point lead. Our offense is terrible. I definitely wasn't feeling like they had won the game. I knew Minnesota would come back. But yeah, they lost first time in 7 years or some bullshit like that. Like, get the fuck out of here, PJ. Oh man, that dude. I mean, of course, that's an aspect to all these Iowa fans, including myself, like not letting this go. It had to happen to PJ Fleck in Minnesota. It hasn't beat us in 6 or 7 years, whatever it is. And they come to Kinnick and they beat us 12-10. They're gonna tell their grandchildren about it. That's that aspect of it, losing to PJ Fleck, because Kirk has just slapped his balls all over PJ's face for 6 years in a row. Yeah, the whole timeout gate thing. Yeah, running up the score, which Kirk never does. It's frustrating, but especially if Kirk's going out. I'm in that camp that think Kirk's going to retire this year and Brian won't be brought back. Which I have very mixed feelings about, right? Like, I'm a huge Kirk Ferentz fan. I think he's him and Hayden Fry, man. That's all my life has known. Kirk, I think, is a stand-up guy. I think he's extremely upstanding. I think that's reflected in the people that he surrounds himself with, that have made comments about him, have gone back to the university for different reasons, not just because of football. But they speak very highly of him, that he supported them all the way through, even after, that he was just really a salt of the earth type guy. And I tend to believe that. My dad, when Ferentz got sued, and the university got sued and all that turmoil the last couple of years, my dad wrote Ferentz a letter, just in support. He's a big Ferentz guy too. He thought there wasn't enough evidence. He thought it was a money grab. He thought Ferentz and the coaching staff wasn't getting a fair shake. Like, it just seemed really out of character. And I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I just know of people that have played football at Iowa. To a man, they speak the world of him. And I don't know if he treated people differently. I wasn't there. But that's the way my dad felt. He wrote him a letter, sent it to him. And Kirk, this was many months later, like a month and a half, 2 months later, wrote him a handwritten, just a thank you note, and made it personable. There's a couple of lines that are responding to what my dad said, which I thought was pretty cool. I know my dad really appreciated it. He treasured that, still does. So in that aspect, it's really cool. Both men knew it meant something to write each other in this day and age. And my buddy, whose dad just passed away, he had a handwritten note from Kirk too, because he had written a letter to him, which is funny, but it's respectable, right? So I'll be sad to see Kirk go. I won't be sad to see Brian go. I think, even if he sticks around and coaches offensive line, or like a specialty position on the offense, I think that's fine. Like, he's just got to swallow his pride and go. There's nothing wrong with that. You just can't call plays, bro. You don't know how to manage a game, develop a quarterback. Like, we got no idea what's going on. Nobody wants to come here to play offense. And then, maybe call Reese Morgan, bring him back. But we got to get somebody else to call the plays. That's just the way it is. Anyway, Iowa loses on the weekend, 12-10, bye week, and then Northwestern. Florida State Seminoles. Just a minute. I'm going to turn on a song real quick. All right, sorry about that. I needed a couple sips of water. I didn't want to you hear me gulping. Anyway, those songs, any song I play is in the description, so I don't get copyright or whatever. It's not mine. Somebody is making those remixes, as we used to call them, and I like them. So that's what I'm listening to at the moment. But it's not my music. The copyright, the links are in the description. Anyway, Florida State. They were getting knocked around in that first half. They were keeping up, but number 7 on Duke was running through them. Riley Leonard was doing whatever he wanted. At one point in the third quarter, early to mid third quarter, Duke was averaging like 10.2 yards per offensive play. It was insane. The game definitely changed in Florida State's favor when Riley Leonard went out. I think they were up 24-20 at that point, if I'm not mistaken. Like they had a lead, but Duke was, at the 40-yard line when he got hurt. And then Florida State turned it up from there. But yeah, that first half, Duke was doing whatever they wanted on the offensive end. It was 20-17 at halftime, I think. What was it? Florida State went for it twice on fourth and like less than 4. It was like 4th and 3, 4th and 2. In hindsight, I think you kicked that. You definitely called different plays. Those plays they called were horrible. Again, hindsight is 2020, but yeah, Coleman had a good game. That we still gotta. I've been saying this for weeks. Like Kenny Shaw and Rashad Green meshing in the middle, it always seems to work for them. Especially when they got Hakeem playing. He looks really good. Just throw him the rock. Get him on the inside if he's not afraid to get hit. If he wants to get some playing time out there, throw him on the slot. Throw Keon and Johnny on the outside, and you can mesh those guys up a lot. And I think something will come open. That's just from my perspective. But Keon ran a deep in, or it could have been a post. It took a while for it to open up, but again, he caught it and ran for like 20 yards. Like, throw him the rock, man. If you've seen any of those videos where he's shaking the defender, a lot of them were on Benny Blades Jr., right? No, Al Blades Jr. Yeah. Al Blades Jr. I think Benny is the one who killed somebody. One of the Blades brothers killed somebody, which is wild. I think he was Benny. Played for the Lions. Anyway, Al Blades Jr. Was guarding Keon on like the 15-yard line, and Keon shook him, and Blades fell down, and Keon just stopped and stared at him. It was a running play. He wasn't running a route. And then another time he shook him, acted like he was jumping up, and just stood there and looked at him. So Keon's good stuff, man. That man is so good. Johnny Wilson played well. Hakeem, he played well. I was dogging Tolufili earlier this season, and that's my bad. He looked fantastic. That touchdown he had, he turned it up to another gear there. Yeah, they said he put on 20 pounds in the offseason, so he looks really good. I was griping about him earlier this year, but thankful he's on the team and playing well. Benson looked good. Hill looked good. Hill got a touchdown, right? And somebody else did. Ended up winning 38-20. No score in the third quarter from either team. Florida State scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to put them away. Shaheem made a good interception there, diving. Kevin Knowles ain't it, man. We got to get some more talent out there. They didn't really throw at Jarian. Let's see. Who else played well? Cypress played okay. He let one go, or he missed a tackle early in the game, but he had a pretty solid rest of the game. Linebackers played well. Deloach didn't really make any noise. He didn't stand out to me. I'm sure he had a few tackles, but he just Didn't have the same presence that he's had in other games this year, which you got to lay it all out there, man. This is the last time, unless these guys are coming back. Wouldn't that be something if most of these guys come back? Keon's a junior. I think Deloach is a junior. He may be a senior. He's been there a while. But Verse is a junior. These dudes should come back, dude, for real. Like, just pay them. Ah, that'd be sweet. I've been saying that's the silver lining of NIL. I think some players will stay back, and you got to pay them. That's what it is today. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't like that, but wouldn't that be something if these guys come back? Travis will be gone, which will be a big loss, but I think we'll be okay there. We got some people coming in. Anyway, yeah. So offense play well, defense play well. Verse did all right. He was getting held on every play. Lovett had a good game. Peyton had a good game. Was it 54 that body slammed that guy? Who else played well in that D line? They were getting carved up, though, in the first half and into the third quarter. They were getting carved up bad. Duke is good, man. Duke is a tough out, except Riley Leonard, he got hurt again, so he's going to be out for a while, I think. But yeah, Florida State, this Duke game had been in the back of my mind for quite a while. I was pretty nervous about it. So I'm happy they came out with the win, of course. But they go to Wake Forest next week, I'm pretty sure. I think it's an 11 o'clock game. You know how Florida teams don't like to go the slightest bit north. This is North Carolina. It's not terrible, but still, it's going to be chilly for them at 11. I know that's not an excuse, but it always seems to go that way. The week after, they go up to Pitt, and I saw that's either 11 or a 2:30 game. That's in November 4th, I think. So that's going to be chilly up there. We'll see how they respond. Pitt's terrible, but you never know. Stranger things have happened. Jordan Travis finally remembered to use his legs, which he should be doing a lot more. He would be benefiting the team way more, making defenses respect it more, which opens up everything else. I mean, he's good. He's just a drama queen. I've always said that. He's always like getting hurt, can't move his arm and run into the locker room, and then he's coming out the next drive and he's fine. It's like, bro, you're either hurt or you're injured. That's what they're always saying, right? But yeah, his first year at Florida State, all he did was use his legs, and I would scream at the TV, throw the damn ball, throw the ball, Travis. But he would run and you do okay, respectable. And then he eventually was balanced. And this year he's just seemed to like force the throw, which if you haven't seen that throw he made to Keon catches it near midfield. Travis throws it and he's not open at all. He just throws it and it just buzzes by this defender within centimeters. Can't even see Keon, and he still manages to catch the ball like this. It's pretty incredible stuff. If you haven't seen that, go dig that up. It's quite the catch. But yeah, Travis is using his legs, or at least he did this game, which was effective. It keeps the defense on their toes. It makes somebody on the defense be responsible for them, so that opens everything else up. If you've got athletes out there, which Florida State has athletes, defense just has to come ready to play. Both sides have to come ready to play. I mean, everybody's gunning for them. It's no secret. They always are. They have been for 40 years now. They just got to come out and play. They got to walk that walk. If they're going to talk it, it's exciting time to be a Florida State fan. They just got to keep playing. So they got Wake, Pitt, and then I think they might have Miami at home, then somebody like North Central Alabama, something like that. Then they go to Florida. So, and then they hopefully have the ACC championship. So, there's no guarantee that they're going to make it to the playoffs and all that. I think they should just based on the eyeball test. If of any years, just make the decision, figure it out logistically. They can make so much money even in this recession that we're in. Um, and make it a 12-game playoff. There's so many good teams this year that depending on how they play on any given day, it could be a lot of fun. Georgia doesn't seem overwhelming. I'm sure they are. They'll probably win it again. Michigan seems really tough, but they play Ohio State. Whoever loses that should be out. That's just the way it goes, unless they rematch. And yeah, Washington, they barely beat Arizona State or some bullshit. Like I think they're good, but I've also seen Penix Jr. Play against good defenses in the Big Ten. I'm not saying there's terrible defenses in the Pac-12, but they're, you know, and he just isn't that good. He's definitely talented, but he buckled. Anyway, I still think they're good. Oregon's definitely good. USC is not good. Their offense is. We've known that. But anyway, Florida State 7-0, number 4 in the nation, undefeated, going to Wake Forest next week. All right, let's see what the other scores of the week were. I watched a handful of games. We are already at 9 of the college football season. That's too fast. The pause button. Number 22, an undefeated Air Force 7-0 beat Navy 17-6. Baylor beat Cincinnati 32-29. Cincinnati is 2-5. Boston College beat Georgia Tech 38-23. Memphis beat UAB 45-21. Mississippi State beat Arkansas in a barn burner. Mississippi State 7, Arkansas 3. Jefferson's stat line for the Razorbacks, 97 yards. Their running back for Arkansas had 14 rushes for 47 yards. Rough day. 7-3. Ohio State beat Penn State. I watched a good chunk of that game. Drew Allar is not that good. He's talented, but he just folded under pressure. He looked nervous the entire time, made poor decisions, didn't look that athletic, I didn't think, with his feet. I don't know why they stopped running the ball. They, too, were averaging like 10 yards a carry with both of their running backs, Singleton and the other guy. Those guys are tough. And they just stopped running the ball. They put the ball in Allar's hands, and he just was making terrible throws, terrible decisions. I didn't get it. Ohio State's not that good. Of course, Harrison is that good. So is number 2. So is Stover. They've got a lot of good receivers. I mean, I don't think their defense is that good. I think they're beatable. They're obviously good. They've got to play Michigan possibly twice. So we'll see how that goes. They're undefeated, 7-0. Rutgers beat Indiana 31-14. Oklahoma beat UCF 31-29. UCF almost got that onside kick with like 40 seconds left. Enough time to do something and attempt a field goal at least, but they lost 31-29. Western Michigan lost to Ohio 20-17. Ohio is 6-2. Bowling Green beat Akron 41-14. Akron is 1-7. Charlotte beat East Carolina 10-7. East Carolina is 1-6. Let's hope East Carolina and Akron play each other at some point. Louisiana Monroe and Georgia Southern played each other. Georgia Southern won 38-28. Buffalo beat Kent State 24-6. Kent State is 1-7, so Akron and Kent State will definitely play each other, hopefully, unless they've already played each other. Ball State beat Central Michigan 24-17. Northern Illinois and Rocky Lombardi from right down the street beat Eastern Michigan 20-13. Both teams are now 4-4. Minnesota beats Iowa at Kinnick Stadium 12-10. Tulane beats North Texas 35-28. Tulane is now 6-1, ranked 23rd. Nebraska beat Northwestern 17-9. Oklahoma State, who's now 5-2, beat West Virginia 48-34. Wake Forest is now 4-3 after beating Pittsburgh 21-17. Missouri, who's sneaky good, their offense is really good, their defense is really bad. They're the poor man's USC. That's the best way I can explain it. Burden and Weiss and all these guys on the receiving core is really good. They beat South Carolina 34-12. They're now 7-1, Missouri. They're going to give Georgia trouble, especially if it's at Georgia. Again, those Southern boys going up into where there's frost in the morning, they don't do very well. So that Missouri-Georgia game will be interesting. South Florida beats UConn 24-21. Looks like UConn is bad again. They are 1-6. Alabama beat Tennessee 34-20. Oregon beat Washington State 38-24. I like the throwback jerseys that Oregon wore. Those are pretty damn sharp. Damn it. Wisconsin beat Illinois 25-21. Illinois was up 21-7, like in the third quarter, late third quarter, and they ended up losing that game, which we need Wisconsin to lose because they jumped us in the Big Ten West standings, which are atrocious. But still, I'd like to see Kirk again. I think he's going to retire after this year, and I'd like to see him go to a Big Ten championship game. And who knows what could happen? Of course, they're probably going to get stomped if they get there. Wisconsin plays Ohio State next week, though, so hopefully they get beaten. Iowa just needs to win out. Just needs to win out is easier said than done. They're struggling big time, but anyway, Wisconsin beats Illinois 25-21. Texas beats Houston 31-24. Really bad call in that game, too, on a spot that did affect the outcome. They should have, yeah. Toledo beats Miami of Ohio 21-17. Toledo is now 7-1. New Mexico beat Hawaii 42-21. Texas San Antonio beat Florida Atlantic 36-10. Virginia with the stunner 31-27 over North Carolina in Chapel Hill. That was Virginia's second win on the year and North Carolina's first loss. Ranked number 10 at the time. Ez Walker had 11 catches for 156 yards and 1 touchdown. Yeah, throw him the rock. He's like J.J. Stokes, but better. Old Dominion beat App State 28-21. UNLV beat Colorado State 25-23. UNLV is 6-1. Coastal Carolina beat Arkansas State 27-17. Ole Miss beat Auburn 28-21. Ole Miss is now 6-1. Auburn's 3-4. K-State pounds TCU 41-3. K-State is 5-2. TCU is 4-4. BYU beats Texas Tech 27-14. That was played in Utah. Man, in my preseason top 26 that I did, which is based on nothing, is it just a complete guess? I had Texas Tech as like 19 or 20. I was on the Texas Tech hype train, which was a huge mess. They're 3-5, so they're not good. San Jose State beat Utah State, who Iowa beat Utah State on the first game of the year. San Jose State beat them 42-21. Utah State is now 3-5. Ouch. LSU beats Army 62-0. It was 38-0 at halftime. Wow. Florida State beats Duke 38-20 in Tallahassee, moving them to 7-0, moving Duke to 5-2. Michigan beats Michigan State 49-0. They scored 14 points in each of the first 3 quarters. Miami beats Clemson in overtime 28-20. I watched the last 5 minutes of regulation, and then I watched the overtime. Clemson with some terrible play calling in overtime. Miami looks sneaky good. They're 5-2. Clemson is now 4-3. I love it if this would be Clemson's downfall and Dabo cries all the way down. It's time for them to go. But Miami, we get them at home this year. But that's always a big game. Throw records out the way. It's whoever shows up that day and plays better, shows up under the lights. It's a big-time rivalry. There will be a fight at midfield before the game. That's a guarantee. But Florida State, Miami is as big as it comes. Some classic games. And if Florida State thinks they're just going to walk in there and beat them by a couple touchdowns, they got another thing coming. Miami's coming to unseat them. They smell the top, and they want to be top dogs again. They were there for so many years. They feel they can play. They know they can play with Florida State, and they're not wrong. But they're 5-2 right now, so we'll see. Georgia State, who is now 6-1, beat Louisiana 20-17. Utah beats USC 34-32. I already touched on USC a little bit, but Lincoln Riley or Alex Grinch, I guess, he's clearly making over $1 million. I'm assuming, but he's not improving the one job he has. He's not very good at. It's okay to swallow your pride, admit you made the wrong call, and go send him to coach the linebackers or the defensive backs or something, the safeties, who knows. Bring somebody else in to call the plays, man, because this USC can score points all day long. That's evident. We knew that was going to happen. Their defense is terrible. Williams, Zachariah Branch, Jerry Rice's kid. They got all kinds of athletes, 2 running backs that are really good all over the field. They're going to put up points, but their defense is terrible. With that being said, Utah is always solid. They're now 6-1. USC is 6-2, 34-32. Utah goes into the Coliseum, beats them on a last-second field goal for their 4th straight win against USC. That's pretty impressive. Well, look at this barn burner. In Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California, Nevada gets their first win of the season. They're now 1-6. They beat San Diego State 6-0. The score at halftime was 6-0. Wow. Washington sneaks by Arizona State 15-7. They scored 12 points in the 4th quarter to win that game. Penix Jr. had 2 touchdowns, I'm pretty sure. I was really hoping they would lose. They're 7-0, though. Washington is 7-0. UCLA beat Stanford 42-2. SMU beat Temple 55-0. Wow. James Madison, who is now 7-0, beat Marshall 20-9. Good for them. I'm not even sure where James Madison is. Virginia? Look that shit up. James Madison. Nope. My daughter told me something a little not odd or strange, just something unique. She said, when you're on the internet, do you always have a blank new tab open when you're doing something else? I was like, no, I try and condense those as much as possible. She's like, oh, I have to have it. If I'm on a computer and I don't have that, I like get anxious. I'm like, what about it? Just new tab with nothing there? She's like, yeah, I just need to know it's there and available. Whatever. Bless her heart, right? James Madison is in Harrisonburg, Virginia, founded in 1908 as the State Normal and Industrial School for Women at Harrisonburg. The institution was renamed Madison College in 1938 and James Madison University in 1977. Cost $22 grand to go there a year. They accept 86% of their applicants. Looking for somebody that I recognize and they're notable alumni, but I'm not finding too many people. Lindsay Sarniak? Anyway. Rice beat Tulsa 42-10. Sam Houston loses to Florida International 33-27. New Mexico State beat UTEP 28-7. Middle Tennessee loses to Liberty 42-35. Liberty is now 7-0. Good for them. They also are in Virginia, Lynchburg, Virginia. South Alabama whoops up on Southern Miss 55-3, 31-0 at halftime. Woo. Jacksonville State beat Western Kentucky 20-17. Western Kentucky's been really good in the past, but Jacksonville State, who's the team who upset Florida State at Doak a couple years ago, all-time low. They're 6-2 on the year. That's it for the week. Georgia had the week off. Yeah, I think in this season, it makes sense to have a 12-game playoff. Let's just say, you know what, instead of waiting for next year, we think we reevaluated and people are going to be like, okay, that's fine. It's more football to watch. It's more revenue. It's more avoiding your wife, avoiding your kids if you're a shitty dad, all that stuff, right? Nobody's going to turn that down, but the NCAA is just run by a bunch of old white men. I'm saying that as a white guy. They're so out of tune with everything that's reality. It's almost criminal at this point that they're still allowed to be in power, but they are the ones that can decide if to go to 12 games. It just makes sense. Let's see who I would put in there. Georgia, these are assuming these teams win out or, lose one game, maybe two games. You're looking at 12 teams. So maybe there's some teams in there that have lost twice, but let me just see. Maybe losing in a championship game isn't as harshly viewed because that's almost another bowl game, right, for some teams. So I'm going to go Georgia, Michigan. I am going to go Ohio State. Just the media loves them. I am going to go Florida State. I think in a 12, no matter if they lose in a 12-team playoff, they're in. Washington, I'm going to go Oregon. They were right there along with them. I thought they should have beat Washington. That's 6 teams. I don't even fucking know who's in the top 25, to be honest with you. Oklahoma at this point, they look pretty good. Oklahoma, maybe Texas. I'm going to put a question mark by them. Who else is in the top 25? All right, let's see here. Alabama, maybe. I'm going to put a question mark by them. They already have a loss. I think they'd lose again to somebody. Penn State, I think they play Michigan. I think they're out. 2 losses. 2 losses. Oregon State. Sure, let's throw Oregon State in there. Let's throw Utah in there. Notre Dame. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Ole Miss. I do like Duke. So I would probably go Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, Oregon, Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Oregon State, Utah, and Notre Dame. So 1 independent. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 from the Pac-12, which is insane. That's a quarter. No, 33% of the playoff would be from the Pac-12, who is dissolving. Poetic justice, man. SEC would have 1, 2 from the SEC. 1, 2 from the Big Ten. 1, 2 from the Big 12 who are leaving. So really the SEC. So Big 12 really has none, but they would be getting Utah. That's interesting. 4 from the Pac-12, 2 from the SEC, 2 from the Big 10, 2 from the Big 12. Let's duke it out. 12 teams. It just makes sense. Could an Alabama beat Ohio State on the given day if they're at home, neutral field? Probably. Could Ohio State beat them? Probably. Could Utah beat Florida State? Probably. Like, let's just play the games. It's a tournament. Let's anyway. I know I don't make the rules. It won't change this year. But I think if enough people barked about it, all the way up from players to coaches to the media, if for some reason the media would do something for good, get them on their side for a 12-team playoff. But it's already week 9. Let me see what notable games are next week. 11 o'clock slot. Syracuse and Va Tech play on Thursday night. Georgia State and Georgia Southern play on Thursday night too. That'll be a good game. That's on ESPN too. Both those teams are good. It's a 1.5 point spread. Georgia State and Georgia Southern. Allen E. Paulson Stadium in Statesboro, Georgia. That's a city I've never heard of. Statesboro, Georgia. Let me see that. Man, if I was 20-some years old, if I had a job, if I had school, if I had gas was like $1.79, which was expensive to me at the time because even though my parents were helping pay for college, I was still broke. They were helping me a lot. Don't get me wrong. I was working, but I would hop in a car and drive to Statesboro, Georgia, just for the fuck of it. I once convinced 2 of my friends. One of them girl named Stephanie, my buddy Gray. I was sitting in the library at the University of Iowa, and eBay was relatively new to me. 33,000 people live in Statesboro, Georgia. I might have to look into moving here. What the fuck? Where is this? The largest city and county seat of Bullock County, Georgia, located in the southeastern. I wonder if they get hit by. Their fire chief is Timothy Grams. That's the kind of information I need to know. When there's a fire, who's going to take care of it? Grams' crew. What is Statesboro, Georgia famous for? Eagle Soar. Statesboro is a pretty decent city. However, the crime rates are slightly increasing near the campus area, which is Georgia Southern. 49% are white, 41% are black, 0.2% are Native American or American Indian, 1.5 are Asian. I might have to look into it. I'm going to write that down. Statesboro, Georgia. See, I wish I was. Maybe there's a train I can take, go down to Statesboro, Georgia, and vlog it. That might be fun. Let me check the Amtrak. Anyway, that's Thursday night. I can't get down there for Thursday night. Georgia State and Georgia Southern. Actually, the southeastern part of Georgia. Fuck no. Let's see how far that is. I can barely drive 3 hours. I've got to get out of the car. All right. $17 hours. 1,100 miles. Jesus Christ. I would go through St. Louis, Paducah, Kentucky, Nashville, Chattanooga, which are going through the mountains, ATL, Georgia, whatever we do for you, bulldog and hose like them Georgetown Hoyas. And then you get down to Statesboro, which is right by Savannah. Whoo, I might have to move to Statesboro. Give me some property in Statesboro. I'm getting the fuck out of here, bro. I'm fired up. I like new places. I'm really not going anywhere. My daughter lives down the street. I love it here in Iowa, but I might get a little place in Statesboro. Might get some land in case shit goes sideways. I got a place to go. I got a place to take my people with me. Let's fucking do this thing. Yeah. I need to go for a walk. It's super nice out. It's like 80 degrees in late October. It's 9 o'clock. Let's see how warm it is. It's 70. I'll fucking take that. It was 81 today, 76 tomorrow, and then it's going to get freezing cold. Oh, man. I wish I liked to fly or we had fast trains. It would take fucking forever to get to Savannah or Statesboro. All right, let's see what other games are playing. Florida State plays Wake Forest at 11 a.m. Florida State is favored by 20 points. I'd be taking Wake Forest all day in that one. Houston plays at K-State. This is the 11 o'clock time slot. Indiana goes to Penn State. Maryland goes to Northwestern. Oklahoma goes to Kansas. That's an interesting game. South Carolina goes to Texas A&M. Tulsa goes to SMU. UConn goes to Boston College. UMass goes to Army. West Virginia goes to UCF. Western Michigan goes to Eastern Michigan. Then at 1 p.m., Clemson goes to NC State. BYU goes to Texas. We're now in the 2:30 time slot. Duke goes to Louisville. That's an interesting game. Duke is favored by 4 points. It's at Louisville. Duke's ranked 20th. Louisville's 18th. Yeah, I really like Duke in my 12 teams to go to the playoff, but I don't know who I would take out. Maybe Oregon State, maybe Alabama, maybe Texas if they would lose twice to Oklahoma. I'm not sure. Maybe Notre Dame. It's tough. But that's why you should have a 12-game playoff. Iowa State goes to Baylor, still at 2:30. Miami of Ohio goes to Ohio. Michigan State goes to Minnesota. I hope Michigan State beats the brakes off of them. It's not going to happen. Michigan State's pretty bad, but PJ Fleck, Minnesota Gophers, they're such a lame. If you don't have anything nice, don't say anything. Mississippi State goes to Auburn. Oregon goes to Utah. That's interesting. Utah's ranked 13th. Oregon is number 8. That's interesting. 2:30, Oregon at Utah. Oregon's a 7-point favorite. Pitt goes to Notre Dame. Purdue goes to Nebraska. Georgia goes to Florida. That's an interesting game. Georgia's 14.5-point favorites. Games in Jacksonville. I don't think Florida is necessarily really good. I think they have a lot of talent. ETN is a very good running back like his brother was. Depending on which Graham Mertz shows up, they're sneaky good. They've got athletes on the field. They always do. I think they could be a challenge for Georgia. I think Georgia is definitely the better team, more talent, more depth, but you never know. That's why they play the game. So keep an eye on that one. I think Florida, I'm not a betting guy, but I think Florida could cover that easy. But that's just me. I think they could beat them maybe. Southern Miss plays at App State. Virginia goes down and plays the Hurricanes. Miami's 18.5-point favorites. Tulane goes to Rice. USC goes to Cal. Let's see here. Air Force goes to Colorado State. Battle of Fort Collins, I believe. Both of those universities are there. No, Colorado State's in Greeley. My cousin went there. Shout out to Zach and the cat that he adopted. Tennessee goes to Kentucky. That's an interesting game. Tennessee's 3.5-point favorites. Washington goes to Stanford. Ooh, this is the game. Colorado goes to UCLA. So they're playing at the Rose Bowl on ABC at 6:30 on Saturday night. On NBC, Ohio State is playing Wisconsin, which I hate that it's on NBC, but that's a good game. I mean, we need Ohio State to pound Wisconsin. And then Iowa to win out. Of course, crazier things are going to happen than that. I'm not saying Iowa's good or they deserve to win. I'm just saying, as a fan, I hope that's what happens. Ohio State goes to Wisconsin. They're 14.5-point favorites. So they go to Camp Randall. Heavily favored. It's on NBC at 6:30. It's going to be cold. That's an interesting game, but we need Ohio State to win that one. Hand them their second loss. But that Colorado UCLA, there's going to be a gazillion people watching that game. UCLA is ranked 23rd. Colorado is not ranked. 6:30 on ABC. That'll be fun. UCLA is 17-point favorites. Woo. I think I'm going to take Colorado in that. I don't know how good UCLA's defense is, though. Vanderbilt goes to Ole Miss. Cincinnati goes to Oklahoma State. North Carolina goes to Georgia Tech. They drop down to number 17. Washington State goes to Arizona State. New Mexico goes to Nevada. Oregon State goes to Arizona. And that's week 9 for you. So Florida State versus Wake at 11. My dog needs me. I've been jabbering, bullshitting for too long. If you watch this, hope you appreciate it. I'll make some comments next time I'm on here. See ya.